Live from the Real Guppy Dockside Learning and Multimedia Center. It's the Real Angler Podcast with community Kevin Brannon. Brought to you by AFTCO Fishing Apparel and Tackle, designed to perform. Channel Islands Sport Fishing, offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats, and more. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. See what's out there. Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. And now, here's your host, Community Kevin Brannon. Today's guest, Ivan Oberon, mortgage broker, TV show host, real estate investor.
All right, we're going to get this party started. Good morning. This is Barry the Bear. I am the California bear. I am the Caliente cow bear, and it is our state animal, so we like to showcase it. Well, then again, you have the Garibaldi, which is our state fish that you can't even look at longer than 10 seconds without getting a citation. But California is mine. This is Community Kev with Real Anglers Fishing Show California, Real Guppy Outdoors, and this is Real Radio, our weekly podcast that we talk about everything from fishing to what's going on in the community. And always try to bring you some different variety of guests, tell their story. Today we have a friend of ours, and what I mean by a friend of ours is not only do we network together how we met, but he actually supported Real Guppy Outdoors on his TV show, American Dream TV. They came out and shot a clip with us, but also helped us get to ICAST and came to our open house. That was when we did the premiere of that segment and sat down with our interns, or I think we did a phone call. But they approached you. We had them set up in the corner as we're raising funds for ICAST, and helped us get that to get to ICAST. And we're going to make that a yearly thing now that all of our new interns every year will get a chance to do that. So look for that call again for support. But anyway, Ivan Oberon is our guest today with Your Kingdom Lender. And he's going to talk about that and how me and Ivan met. We were both in the Millionaires Club on Wednesday mornings. Now, Wednesday, we have a production meeting here, and Wednesdays got busier for me. But, you know, we talk about networking. You've met Adam Casillas on the show and the power of networking, what it goes into. So, again, Ivan is going to tell us his story. Again, we're going to bounce back and forth. You guys know if you listen to the show regularly, we don't script it. I just kind of introduced our guest and then let them talk about things that are going on in their world, how they got to the occupation that they love doing. Ivan is definitely one of those passionate people like me, works out, hikes, man of God, networking, always trying to help other people out, uplifting. So we have a lot of similarities in that aspect, but he has a journey in the occupation in the field that he's in as a lender in TV. And again, but that's some of his background, his story. So today our guest, and again, is Ivan Oberon. And
man, you're so good at pronouncing my last name.
Yeah, I know. I've hacked it up a few times. That's why I had to write it out and spell it, because to make sure I got it right. I'm nailing it right?
Yeah, you're nailing it.
So,
nailing it.
And one thing I'll tell you, I do call high school or elementary football games, so I could hack up a last name, and I have parents yelling at me like, "Yeah, that's how you pronounce it," yelling at me. So usually I make up nicknames and stuff.
Yeah,
because I'm bad at turn the phone off at names. So go ahead, man. Tell your story, man. What do you do? I mean, jump in anywhere you want. We'll start there again. We'll talk about you talk about mindset and these words that we use, or how important they are. And again, just appreciate your support of our program. And I want we're already 3 minutes in, man. So jump in.
Pleasure. No, it's a pleasure to support organizations like this. It's just part of being able to and having the means and the wherewithal and also the heart to give back is something that I've prayed for a long time. The entrepreneurial journey is not easy, and I've been at this thing called entrepreneurship for a little over 16 years.
You started when you were 5?
Yeah, right. I know.
I did some lemonade, but go ahead.
Check out the gray hairs. Don't let that fool you, man. Having 2 daughters and trying to run a business and going through hard times brings them out. But what Scripture says is my crown of glory. So I'm just going to lean on that. My wife thinks that it looks debonair, so why not? I'm just going to leave it alone. But your listeners may or may not be entrepreneurs. Obviously, you are. Like I love your story and where you came from and how you broke that cycle to really come out of that whole world into what you're doing now, especially with the youth, because the youth is such a critical part, right? They are the next generation. They're going to be the next leaders, and either we're going to have terrible leaders according to what we do today, or we're going to have some good ones that hopefully have some values and some ethics and moral compass to lead us. And you know, here at the community level especially, but then of course as we go into higher levels of government and even into politics. So that is what we're about. And I find that most people are either driven towards pleasure or pushed away by pain, right? Like those are the two kind of like main motivators. And really what started me down this journey, and what I can say has led me to this room here with you and many others across the country, was pain. And it took me a long time to be able to tell my story, to not be ashamed, to not and just realize that God can use those broken pieces to potentially encourage others and just trace back, right? Like, what are these testimonies that he has given us? And in 2009, I was in the insurance industry. I had a tenure of about 10 years, duly licensed agent. You know, I didn't love it or anything, but it was a thing, and I was pretty good at it. But I was in a training in Fresno, so long day, like 4-hour drive there, all day training, drive back. And I came home, walked through my front door around 11:30 at night, and my wife at the time was still sitting there in front of her computer, just looked up at me, and she's like, "I don't want to be married to you anymore." And I was so exhausted. Like it was just like, what do you mean? Like, can we just talk about this tomorrow? And over the course of the next few days, it started to sink in. Over the course of the next several days, some stuff came out, and turned out she'd been having an affair, and like all these different things that led to a catalyst in my life. And what I haven't told you yet is that my ex-wife was the office manager at that insurance agency that I worked at, and my in-laws were the owners. Wow. So what do? Well, I can't just quit because I have a mortgage I'm solely responsible for. They didn't want me to leave. I'd done nothing wrong, but they weren't going to fire her. And over the course of weeks and months, I just hated my job. Right? I hated going into work. Imagine now going through this with 2 young girls and having to pay child support, and even before the divorce is inked. And now my ex-wife cuts my checks. So every time I do a little bit better, guess what? She'd want a little more of it. But I had to stick it out, right? Like, what do you do? Like, that's where God starts forging character, of showing up, because I still needed to provide a roof over my daughter's heads. Nobody else was going to pay the mortgage but me. Over a while, I wasn't able to afford it because we went from a dual income to single income. But going to work every day, seeing her marry the guy she cheated on me with while we're at work, and like all these things, and you have to really rely on God. And I say, like, as Christians, we're not better than anybody else, but man, we're better off. At least we have something to lean on when you go through these hard times. And so, of course, I had well-meaning friends and my dad and my parents. It's like, man, why don't you get out of there? Like, start your own insurance agency. You're good at it. Like, you could do well. And I was like, you know what, man? Like, it's just in my heart, it's not there. Like, I don't have a heart for insurance.
You know, we had a guy in here, Danny, and I'll let you back your story. And he was from, because I think a lot of mine came from the pain, right? Like the way I grew up.
Oh, sure.
Or what I wanted, right? Not to but there's 2 forks in the road. And Danny, the guy that was here, he's my coach too for fitness, and he just competed and got his IFBB Pro, and it took him a heartbreak, you know, that got him, you know, to really buckle in. So yeah, some people use, you know, there's funerals I've been to, or people, you know, a friend of mine, just as a for instance, you know, like you could either get angry about what happened to your mom, or because he had an addiction problem, or it's going to sink you further into it, right? Some things are awakening moments, and it's, you know, life, and it happens to all of us, right? None of us are immune to what life can throw at us. And a lot of people come from that, taking that brokenness and turning it into something, you know.
Well, you have a choice, right? And the saying is, you can allow it to get you bitter or get you better. And so I chose, through leaning into my faith, to try to do something about it. But it just, and I think that was the Holy Spirit not only refining me and building my character, and seeing through that, and still showing up every single day, right? I didn't take any time off of work. Like, you know, you just have to be a man and still fulfill your responsibilities to your family and everything else. Even though the enemy had come in, and guess what? Like, till this day, the enemy targets families.
Yeah.
He targets the head of the household. He targets the men. He wants to bring us down. So that's why we have to rise up together.
Do you think that's now, or I think that's been I think that goes back. If I look at my genealogy of how far we've come in our lineage, it happened then. I just don't think it's maybe they don't talk about it back then, but I feel like that's been something that's happened. I could look back at my father, my grandfather on my dad's side and my mom's side, and seen where they were that too, but maybe they couldn't talk about it or didn't know what to do with those emotions or feelings, but you could see back again, not just this generation, but how that's been set in motion for a few generations. Maybe that's why it's easier for people to break up now, because maybe I don't need to depend on anybody, right? I can do it myself. Or they might have seen some type of abuse in the home where their mom said, hey, don't ever let a man treat you like this, right? Or a generation or two, because again, but if pops was fractured, and I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody. Sure. I'm just saying that it's not just
no, brother. It's since the beginning of time. It's same demons, new time. That's all it is.
And you hitting these words that we're working on right now. I'm taking this group, this called New Life, and I wrote down refining because I swore the Lord told me in my house the other day when I was sitting there by myself, like. He's like, I'm refining you right now, Kev. I just need to refine you, bro.
It's refiner's fire. That's absolutely. It's all there. I mean, that's how we're forged into something stronger on the other side.
But I know that I believe, again, on the other side of that is our fathers didn't have that. So, like, I wanted to give you this reason why you said about the youth developing impactful leaders, and since you help support us in the work that you do,
love it, man.
That's what you're into, right? It's kind of like a discipleship, right? You might not use the word discipleship. You could say leadership, mentorship, ship, but it's all part of that development and growth, discipleship, right? For sure. But men discipling men to be strength, and again at 46, looking at it, right? Where I'm weak at, or where I need to be refined, or I need to have God work on some more character flaws. Self-control, disciplines, things that you might look at younger in your age that you don't agree with anymore, right? Your convictions have changed. But going back to it, I know that our side of the family, that wasn't part of it. We had some Catholic on one side, but my dad was in the Catholic Church, and things happened to him while he was in there. I heard from my uncle, right?
Church hurt.
Right. So, people sometimes aren't always mad at God. They're mad at the church or people that done it, versus now when you go into these things now, you're to jump into faith, is that that's what we're able to talk to people about, right? It's a relationship. It's different than maybe what you grew up in the 80s or in the 60s or 70s, or Irish Catholic or where your background is from, versus coming to Christ in this relationship under the covenant that is different for forgiveness and all that. Anyway, I won't go long. I'm here to preach.
No, bro, we're called to be preachers and prophets, man. Like that's.
I don't want to make sure you get your story too, though.
But this all ties into it, because it's part of how my faith continued to be developed, right? And then on and on and on. And so, like I said, man, people were telling me to leave, and of course I wanted to leave. But I had established a career. I was making some money. I was at least meeting the bills at the time, even though I wasn't happy. But I said, I can't leave insurance for insurance. So I just stuck it out. And it was actually my dad that suggested. He came over one day and he suggested, son, like, why don't you get into, look at flipping houses. I was like, come on, Dad. Like,
what year was this?
That was 2000 and early 2011.
Because when I met you and I see your show, I used to watch, whatever reality TV, how much of it is true, but that show flipped this house, right?
Yeah.
I think everybody
this was way before that.
Thinking like, man, I could invest into a home and flip homes or something. So it was before that.
Oh yeah, it was before HGTV was the thing. Like, and I knew nothing about real estate, but so I pushed back and I said, Dad, like, you know how expensive homes are here in California? Like, I don't have any money. Like, how am I supposed to do this? And he just pushed back gently. He's like, you know what, son, maybe there's a way that you can do it without any of your own money. And I was like, huh. So I had reached a point that I like to call constructive discontent. So I was very unhappy with my situation, where I was in life and going to work every day. But I thought I was ready to do something about it. And that was like the first idea that I thought, you know what, maybe there's something here. I didn't know anything about real estate. I knew that more wealth had been created in and through real estate than any other asset class out there. I didn't know about it. I didn't know how to get into it. I knew I wanted some one day. I own my own home, but there was no investments, right? So I didn't know anything. But he had gotten a postcard, and we went to this little half-day seminar. And like as soon as I started talking about how the wealthy use their money and investing and using assets,
was that anybody in particular that you went? Was it like somebody like what's his name, Hakasaki, or Rich Dad.
Yeah,
like,
so Rich Dad focuses on rental properties. This guy was focusing on actual flipping.
But I mean,
homes.
but the person it was just somebody we might not be familiar with, or
you may or may not, depending on how long you've been in the industry, because it's shut down. But it was actually a guy named Armando Montalano.
Yeah, that's the guy from Flip This House. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah,
Armando Montalano.
Yeah.
So before he had the show, he started in Texas, and then he came out to California, and he was doing a bunch of stuff here, and he had these little seminars. So you get in with the little half day thing. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, I was like, this has got to be it. But then they're like, all right, well, come to this 3-day. It's only $1,500. And I'm just like, dude, $1,500. That's all the money in the world to me right now.
Let me ask you, I'm going to stay on the story. It's an investment versus spending, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, just you get.
I had to get my mindset around that.
Right. Yeah. So that's why people that are listening, when we talk about spending versus investing, when you look at a price tag,
is it an expense or is it an investment? Right. Absolutely. It's not about cost. It's about worth. Right. Is this going to be worth it? But at that time, I still had, even though I was an independent agent, I still had the employee mindset. And I was coming in working for somebody else. I was proud that I could leave work at work and not have to worry about it. Now I'm proud that I can take my work anywhere I go in the world, which is pretty cool. But my dad, I think he saw the look on my face and he's like, you know what, son, it's like, I'll put $750 on my credit card. You put $750 on yours and let's go to this thing, see what it's about. And so we do that. And I mean, that was the catalyst and I'm excited. Day 1, I'm excited. Day 2, I'm kind of like, okay, not as excited. Day 3, like I was already in sales. You're in sales. So I could tell I was starting to get put together. Uh-huh. Okay. And then somebody taps me on the shoulder like I'm special, like they tap everybody else on the shoulder. And they were putting me together. And so at the end of it, I'm like, I got all this knowledge, but I still don't have any freaking clue what to do. And so they go, oh, now in order to actually learn what to do, come to this bigger, better, badder 3-day bus tour. We're going to take you around and this and that, all for the low price of $60,000. And like my heart sank. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And I had to go have a little heart to heart and prayer. And I was like, what do I do here? I could either go back to this life of misery or I could try to figure it out and finally start becoming an entrepreneur for the first time. So I talked to a couple of guys in the room. One of them was a realtor. He had a partner there. We went and talked back to the guy. I beat the guy down to $15,000 and split it 3 ways between these guys. I got credit line increases on my credit cards and we just split the $15,000 3 ways. And that's kind of like what started it. But I still didn't know anything. I'm going back to the office and guess what? I have to build my business covertly. And this is part of the story. Not only, hey, did you ever have to work with your ex-wife who cheated on you? We cut your checks. What about if you were trying to create a side hustle and you had to do it in secret? You can't ask for help. You can't network. You can't start posting things on social media. You have to do everything on like behind closed doors because you can't let your ex-in-laws and everybody find out what you're doing. So that's what I was doing. I went to the seminar. I made up different things about hanging out with my dad. And I did, so that was true. But here I am on my phone during work hours because I'm still working 8 to 6 every day, going home, looking at comps. I literally was trying to maintain some kind of balance. So I had my treadmill and I'd put this ladder backwards, where you have the shelf. I put my laptop on there as I'm trying to get on my treadmill at midnight, reviewing comps, looking at deals, trying to write up offers, stepping out, taking calls. And then, the helicopter, like, at work, like, why do you keep stepping out taking phone calls? So, oh, well, my clients have my cell phone, like, why wouldn't I? And then you have to grow your network, right? Because when you don't know anybody, that's your biggest issue. Like, I started diving deep into personal development. Mm-hmm. I got certified by John Maxwell. I got everything from Brian Tracy. Eventually, I ran into Brendan Burchard. Then eventually Grant Cardone, and one thing Grant said
10x
that was absolutely that really stuck with me is like your biggest issue as an entrepreneur or small business owner isn't your product or service. You might have the best product, you might have the best service. Your biggest issue is obscurity. So the first thing you need to do is get attention. Mm-hmm. Well, I was having a really hard time getting attention because I was doing everything covertly, but I started networking. So on my spare time, on the weekends, I started attending RIA clubs.
You went to any of his seminars? I've read like 3 of his books multiple times. So I haven't seen him in person, but I have 3 of his books on there that I was.
No, I never went to an in-person event for Grant Cardone. I did go to John Maxwell stuff. I've gone to a lot of Ed Milet stuff.
I do like Grant a lot. That's what I was just getting to.
He's a special flavor, right? Like I can't listen to Grant too much, especially when I started with Brian Tracy and John Maxwell. Like they're just so just polished and refined and like just, very different flavor
Let me
than.
look these up. Give me that name again.
Yeah. So Brian Tracy, I got everything from him on public speaking and leadership and presenting and stuff like that. But John Maxwell, he's the
sounds familiar.
he's the world's foremost expert on leadership. He's written more books on the topic in the world. He's also a man of faith. So I mean, there were two guys that
I might
really
have a John
influenced
Maxwell on my audiobook.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
So just pouring into that stuff, and so I started going into these networking events.
Pause. So if you can understand, folks, investment in yourself.
That's right.
Honestly, whether it's financially, reading books, listening to other people's testimonial, being refined, going back to that word, but it's all investment in ourselves and time. You could spend time doing anything, but if you're not spending some time on your health and your development, you're missing a big factor, man. There's so much. Yeah. And again, I think I purchased Richest Man in Babylon audio book for $6 or $8. I know Kevin Jr.'s here. He read that book in like a day. Yeah. And he's on track. I don't know what his score is at and what he's doing, but audio, it takes a couple of days. Yeah. But again, you can see those principles and they were refining me on where we're at now, looking to be first-time home buyers and whatnot. But the point is that $6 is an investment, man, what you spend your time on. So people that are listening, again, you could hear just in the first 20 minutes how much time, and again, at your pace, right? You had a full-time job, you're working 6 o'clock, you got the devil coming at you, right? So you're emotionally just try to be easy to just sit there in your feelings and depressed, but you pressed on instead. And again, so people that are listening, they could be going through some type of hardship or, we call it the double dutch. You ever play that where you're kind of wondering, do you jump in on the rope? Somebody might be listening right now and be like, this is it, hearing your story. And again, just an audiobook. Listen to that while you're driving to work, or stuck in traffic. Audio University, as Zig Ziglar would say. But the point is, people that are listening, you could hear through the hardship and his busy schedule and what's going on, he was still investing some of his funding, some of his capital, and his time into refining yourself.
And my health, right? So poured into the Lord, poured into still trying to work out when I could, eating well.
Speaking of eating well, that's the rice cooker.
I was gonna say I saw that crock pot over there. What's going on?
Got an air fryer. I had potatoes and egg whites for breakfast with that. So yeah,
there you go.
Stay on it. But anyway.
So that's right. Personal development is the key because it works on what's between your ears, right? And that will drive everything else. If you can't get your head straight, like none of the rest of it will follow. So it's time, it's energy, it's money. I didn't have a lot of money, so I used credit wisely and I invested a lot of time and energy and effort. And part of it was getting out there and meeting people. And so we had these things called RIA clubs in those days. Now they're basically known as meetup groups because most all of them are hosted through meetup.com. And they're in every city. So I started going to those things.
I see that in your, okay, so they're not online because I was looking at when I clicked on your link today and you had like these boxes that were on there. And I know some of the stuff you talk about masterminding. And again, I heard that in Think and Grow Rich and other things about the idea of having a mastermind think tanks. Yep. Is that similar to that? And then are they in person or there are someone that
So they're all in person. Online? So meetup groups are really they stood for Real Estate Investing Association, Real Estate Investing Clubs. So it's where people that are flipping homes, wanting to flip homes, investing in rental properties, basically anything to do with real estate investing. And so that's where I knew I needed to get to because I'm looking for deals, I'm looking for capital. Right.
And also some knowledge, right? If someone would have more experience and stuff that they could share with you.
You have to get in rooms with people that are doing what you want to do and then learn from them.
Spitting games at you guys, folks, if you're listening.
But the thing is not only, so let's just say you get in a room with somebody who's doing what you want to do and you want to learn from them. Well, you got to add something of value to those people. So what could that be? It could be resources. It could be a deal. It could be something. So for me, once I got my education, I decided I wanted to be the money guy. So I was like, if I'm gonna need money to do this, and there's hard money, and then I'm gonna have to use investors' money. And I thought, well, why don't I just raise all the money and be the money guy? And so because I had something of value, I was able to within 3 months, I had gotten verbal commitments of about $500,000 in cash. And so that's partially how I broke into the business of flipping homes. Is I couldn't get any deals under contract where I lived because if you remember after the crash around 2012, 11, 12, 13, the hedge funds were coming into Ventura County just like buying everything up because we had this glut of what they called REOs, which essentially it's called real estate owned, meaning that houses were foreclosed on, the banks took them back, and now you have all these bank owned properties and they called them REOs. So the hedge funds are coming in and buying everything. And me as an investor, I'm putting in offers of 30% margins because I have to account for closing costs, buying costs, holding costs, and profit. They were putting in offers like 3-4% margins because they're buying a whole bunch of stuff and they just need to make a little bit of return on and their investors are happy. So couldn't get any properties under contract where I live. And that's what everybody wants to do. I want to flip homes. I want to be there. I want to get sawdust on myself. I want to do all this kind of stuff. And many of them failed because they couldn't get deals in their own city. Well, I wasn't going to let that stop me. So I kept networking.
And nothing stopped you.
Through RIA clubs. The first 4 houses I flipped were in San Diego County, 3 hours away. Do you think I was driving down there managing those projects? Absolutely not. But I connected with somebody. She had deals under contract. She knew how to manage general contractors. And so we developed a relationship, a rapport. I had her send me some deals and I penciled them out myself and I put together an offer. Now, whenever you offer somebody something, you have to make sure that you already know that it's going to be in their best interest, right? So I made her an offer. I ran the numbers. I said, how about I'll bring all the money, you just manage them remotely, and we'll split the profits of the back end. And she's like, well, that sounds like a good deal to me. I was like, I know, because I already penciled it. I know it's going to be a good deal to you. But she said yes. And then that's how we broke into it.
And that's how you go again.
And so that's how I started flipping homes remotely. And quite honestly, every home I've ever flipped has been remote. I started in Southern California. I went to Indianapolis and flipped 12 homes over there. I learned some very painful lessons out there. I went to Kansas City. And ironically, we were starting to create turnkey rentals out there. So rather than flipping homes to consumers, we were flipping homes to investors. And we had tied in to the Rich Dad organization in Indianapolis. And they did the bus tours where Armando taught flipping. The Kiyosaki organization teaches about rental property investing, right? So we were essentially creating these turnkey properties with tenants. And then the Rich Dad organization would do tours because they're not a turnkey provider. They're just an education company. So they would connect them with us, and we were selling a lot of our properties to these people going through the Rich Dad courses and stuff like that.
So you had multiple avenues that you were.
Yeah, I mean, and it was all because I had raised the money, right? Because the team I created out in Kansas City, they actually flew out to Vegas to a conference, American Association of Private Lenders conference, to meet me the first time. And I built out a team of vertically integrated. They were sourcing the properties. They had a contract to do all the repairs. They had a property management company that would then get them leased up, and then they had a disposition division that would get them sold to investors. And a lot of them, like I said, through the Rich Dad organization. But all that started also with me going through these meetup groups. And so part of what I thought, like, man, you go to a meetup group. Anybody that goes to networking events, there's the room full of people, and maybe you make like 2 or 3 connections, and like, was it even worth it, right? So I just had an idea. I was like, well, I'm going to these things, and I'm making some connections, but what if I was the guy in the front of the room instead? I could just say one thing to everybody, and anybody that resonated can come up and talk to me.
You're turning into
in the back
guys
end
that you would show up to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I thought to myself, I had already flipped 5 homes. I had some credibility. I mean, I had created my own investor presentations and rehab calculators and like marketing materials, like all these things. So I thought, well, I have something of value. So like, I'm going to start my own. So we started our own, and our first meetup was 2 people at a Starbucks and just putting one foot in front of the other, figuring it out. Because again, I'm still working full time with the agency.
Oh, and you're still working
and I'm still
full-time.
flipping homes.
Wow.
And I'm still doing it all in secret.
Okay.
Nobody knows what I'm doing except for my parents. And so I thought, all right, well, I'm going to start this. So I started, had 2 people at a Starbucks. Within 4 months, I had 16 clubs across 4 different states. As they figure it out, entrepreneur, how can I do this? Because I need to make some money. So I thought, well, now I'm running these clubs. I'm doing this. I'm helping people. I thought, well, maybe somebody would want to do kind of like what I'm doing, have their own club, but have some resources. So we came up with this idea of, I'll provide all the marketing. We'll open up your first club. We'll give you the rehab calculators. We had branded ourselves as Coast to Coast RIA at the time. And we'll open up for you. Any deals that you do within the club, they're for you to keep. If you sell anything, you're going to give us 50% because we don't want you selling from the front of the room. But if you do, and we just started having conversations, and I said, all this for the low price of $5,000. Then somebody said yes. I'm like, okay. Like, now what do I do? And so then I talked to a buddy of mine who turned into an attorney from high school, and I told him the situation. I was like, I think I need a contract or something, right?
So, you like the term agreement.
Yeah. I think I need some kind of
impress control, right, Scott?
Yeah, there you go.
Contract sounds hard.
We need to pencil out an agreement. right? And have you sign it. So we did, and then we fulfilled. And, then I was, okay, I opened up one in Seattle and Arizona and Nevada and several here across California. And then we would go and help these people start their own stuff.
So do you help people purchase homes? Just to clarify, because I don't know, we jumped into what do you do? Or you just help train folks that are, because as the King lender, when seeing you at the Millionaires Club, you help, let's say I wanted to purchase a home, you help people with funding and to get a percentage, kind of like a bank.
Yeah, because we also teach. But this was like where we're at right now in that journey. I mean, this is still years before here, right? So I wasn't quote unquote lending at the time. I was still just doing deals.
Okay.
Flipping homes. That was supposed to be my exit strategy out of the insurance industry, was flipping homes.
Okay, so this is a term that I just heard recently, was exit strategy. I'm in nonprofit, and people say, well, what happens if something happens to you, Kev, or you want to move on? And I used to get defensive about it, right? Until I figured out what the word exit strategy means. And it's not a bad thing. I had a financial lender, a financial advisor, you know him, Morehouse. From the Millionaires Club, right? And he has this book that they had me reading, and it was about exit strategy, which is an idea. I don't think people think about that in entrepreneurship and business, right? You really want to stay in there for 40 years? Some people might, some people not. But at least the idea of thinking of an exit strategy.
How do you grow it? How you scale it? How you exit it?
Right. So it's just something to think about, people. Again, even Kev is still learning, because, again, I got kids. I got grandkid now, right? Thinking about legacy and what I want to do. And like you said, I could do my business anywhere I want as a fisherman. Not saying I'm never going to stop taking kids fishing, but maybe the model that I want isn't always in nonprofit, right? Where I got to write grants and try to find funding and secure it, and then wait and find out you didn't get it. Like, it's not as much as, again, like you said, bringing a value of me being an educator and a teacher. That's the model probably that I want to follow, right? Have my children's books all over the world. Kevin Jr.'s here. He's working in our marketing department. So when I heard that term, film, right? Like, we have 2 laptops open over there right now that we're working on films while we're watching somebody else's on YouTube for ideas. Because, again, that's what I went to Oxnard College to be, a filmmaker, not a director of a nonprofit. But the point is people think about it. If you want to know what exit strategy is, again, is how do you get it, flip it, make a chunk, and continue to do other things in life, and still make, and you got enough capital to sit on, you know, in your next endeavor. So just something you guys could look into.
I mean, that's hopefully the goal, right? Is to grow.
No, that's your goal.
That's up. Yeah.
So maybe it's because part of the goal is getting there, right? And then again, because I've scratched off things on my list of goals, and I got to make a new list of goals.
For sure.
Right. So you're going to hit these goals. And then again, you might, because what happens again, when we teach this side of it, is when you start to learn momentum and you start building up those confidences, then you'll start to feel like nothing's impossible, right? Like our logo. Because again, if you had a job, and if you were to look back at that history of what you accomplished with all those things going at you, by the time you get to where you're at, either now or, before this, you have so much confidence of realizing I did it with nothing. Now that I have funding and I have experience, I have knowledge, I have resources, I have partners, I have reach, I have leverage, that you can have new goals, because
every next level that you reach increases your mind's belief in that the next level is possible. Like you go to fitness, for example. Like, if you've never had a 6-pack, it's very difficult to believe that you can even have one and see it in yourself. But when you start doing the right things and you see your body start to recomp, and you start seeing more vascularity, you start, oh man, like this is possible. I keep doing the right things, I'm going to get the right results, and it encourages you every step of the way to do the next step.
Well, here's what I tell people that come in, right? You might just want to get in shape. You don't think that you could do a hike in Newbury Park or in Malibu or the Channel Islands, right? As you start to get confidence, now you went from just losing 20 pounds to, maybe I want to do a short marathon or something, right? So again, it shifts because now you have confidence. You came in the door initially to lose 20 pounds, make it up that flight of stairs without losing your breath, right? Or tying your shoes without tying them sideways, whatever you get to the goal of what it is. But then now that you're in now you have that, right? Now you see yourself doing things that you just thought you were just coming to getting fit. Now you're like, no, I got confidence. Now I want to go and maybe not compete on a bodybuilding stage like my buddy does, my coach, but there might be some other things that you could do with endurance now that you didn't even see possible when you first sat down.
Whatever that next level of fitness is for you.
And that's how life is. That's what I'm saying, just as a comparison or as a metaphor. So
it is a good metaphor.
Yeah.
And so we started doing it.
We got about 20 minutes to go.
We started doing it, and the point I like to get to, and many times when I tell the story, and I wasn't sure where we were gonna go today, but this seems like a good place to go. Because it's like people ask me often, well, how did you get out, right? Because there's so many people that I teach that they want to exit their W-2, they want to exit whatever career they're in, And okay, well, how did you finally do it? Well, it took me a year and a half, okay, of still working full time at the insurance agency, building this thing covertly. And I just was asked a question recently, well, hey, do you think it's worth it to go to these meetup groups? And I'm like, well, let me tell you a little story.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
like this. I got to sit back for this.
So we started talking about that and going to meetup groups. And as we were doing this, we ended up going to another event, right? Because you're getting out there in front of people that you don't know. So we started going to real estate conferences. There was the thing called the REI Expo. There's a lady named Linda Pelagas who still runs Realty 411 magazine, which is an online publication. But what she does is she holds free events for aspiring real estate investors all over the country. And that organization is still alive today. Why are they free? It was because she's got a bunch of vendors that serve as the real estate investing industry that sponsor her events, and then people can come to it for free, learn, connect, etc. So we're going to one of her events in Sacramento, well, San Jose actually, and we're networking, we're doing a thing, like we're just nobodies basically, like we were flipping some homes and stuff. But she comes up to us and she said, "Hey, I got somebody here that wants to meet you." And on the inside, I'm like, who even knows we're here? Like, we're nobody. Like, what are you talking about? On the outside, I'm like, well, of course you do. Like, show me the way, you know?
I've been there.
Right. So imagine just a hotel thing, and where you have the different conference rooms. Mm-hmm. And so she takes us into this one that's empty, but there's two gentlemen sitting at the back of the room. One of them, his name is Michael Wren, and turned into be one of my greatest mentors. And he's turns out he's a third generation insurance guy, third generation real estate investor. And we sit down, she makes the introductions, we start talking, and turns out he's a great philanthropist, went to high school with Walt Disney, like is responsible, owns like half of Marceline, Missouri, because he's renovating it. And if you've ever been to Disney, that whole downtown, not downtown Disney, but like the downtown in Disney World, it's a model of downtown Marceline, Missouri, which is Walt Disney's hometown. So he's telling me all the stories, and then he said, "Hey, we've noticed what you guys are doing with these REIA clubs. And we want to," at the time he owned like 49 companies. Like I said, he was a philanthropist and entrepreneur. And he's like, we're thinking about creating an education company for real estate investors that actually taught the education, didn't try to pitch them and sell them and upsell them. And we're seeing what you're doing with your REIA clubs, and we think we might want to connect with you and be a resource to see maybe we can help you do it better. I'm like, and they're in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm like, you guys are noticing what we're like? Again, like, it's just blowing my mind. Like, how are people taking notice?
God thing,
right? Dude, yeah, if we had time to tell you the whole story, I mean, so many God things, right? So here we are, and we're talking about him, but because he's an insurance guy, he starts telling me, he knows I'm flipping houses. So he's like, yeah, well, you should really consider using our agency and our company. We do this and that. And I stopped him. I was like, look, Mike, I'm in the industry. I know the type of insurance that I used to sell, well, I was still selling at the time, that I sell wasn't sufficient for the type of exposure that you do with rehabs. I just sold homeowners insurance and rental properties and car insurance. And so I started telling him, like, I researched and I went to this company and that company. Then I finally got introduced over here, and they do this and this and this for me. And they're great. So you're going to have to do it. And he just kind of like leans back and he's just like, are you sure you're not insured with my company already? And I was like, I don't know. Like so-and-so, I forget who my agent was at the time. I was like, so-and-so work for you? He's like, yeah. So it turns out at the moment of that conversation, I had 12 flips in Indianapolis insured with his company and didn't even know it. So here I am pitching him how great his company is. And so we kind of hit it off, right? And so within a couple of weeks, he flies us out to Kansas City, Missouri for a couple of days to just talk about things. And they ended up making us an offer at the end of those 2 days. And we're like, okay, yeah, that sounds good to me. And then they immediately lay out this whole travel plan. They had the calendar, and they already had all the events and these conferences and these reels, and like they're going all over the country just to like give us more exposure, right? So he's like, now we're going to tie in. What he liked to do was leave the people that started where they are. He's like, nobody can do it better than the founders. So we're just going to be a resource. We're not going to replace you. We're just going to resource you. And then we're going to put you in front of all these people. And my heart sank again because nobody knows I'm in Kansas City. And now they're telling me like it was a struggle to even, coordinate that. And so I have this singing feeling. I was like, oh my gosh, like I got to come clean. I got to tell them about my situation with my divorce and what's going on right now.
Is this Miss Becky? It's our treasurer. Wonder if I keep going.
Hello. So I just laid out on the table. I say, look, I'm going through a divorce. This is a situation. Nobody even knows I'm here. Like there's no way I can put up a facade and like just be traveling. So I understand if like that changes things, but I don't know what to do. And Mike's partner Tim leans into me and he's like, well, you know what it sounds like to me, Ivan? It sounds like we need to get you the hell out of there. So here's what we're gonna do. I need you to tell me what the bare minimum amount you need to live on every month. And so I gave him the number. He's like, all right, on top of the offer we just made you, we're going to add a 1-year salary at that number. And we need you to go back home and put it in your notice.
Go quit right now. Did you go home and quit or did you quit on the phone?
Dude, like I still,
like you got goosebumps.
I still get, dude, because it's the Holy Spirit, man. Like he was working all the way through the work, right? Because Scripture says that we co-labor with Christ.
Really, bro, he's got chicken skins
we co-labor with Christ, man. Like he will not do it for us. He blesses us. He opens doors. He goes before us. He opens doors no one can shut. He makes our path straight. But we have to do our part. And so all this work over the course of the year and a half since I was doing it was me doing some work. And so I said, okay. And man, the ride down on the elevator was just one of those
you got 3 minutes?
Crazy things.
All right, let me just wrap this up and then I'll meet with you in just a few minutes.
So I did, and I've never written a resume, but I told him, I was like, look, I need to do the right thing. I've been there for 10 years. I got to give them a 30-day notice and hope that they give me my pink slip right away. And so I wrote up my first resignation letter. I put it out there. They were surprised. I was like, how could you be surprised? You know, like how could I? Anyway, but they used every last minute of that 30-day notice, man. I was there at 6 p.m. on the 30th day, and then I finally...
Really?
Yeah, because
they're
like, oh my gosh, you know, you got to just do what you say you're going to do. But I got out of there, and
that's honorable, man.
From there, I just kept going and kept going. And so eventually what led me to where I'm at right now is little by little, 2018 comes, the market starts shifting, and I'm doing a lot of great stuff with putting money with other people because I now had more money than I had my own deals. Mm-hmm. So if you don't move that money, it's going to find somewhere else to move it. So I started connecting my investors' money with other people's deals. It eventually just became a private money broker at a traditional mortgage, got out of flipping homes, and went full time into the private money world and mortgage world. Joined another great mastermind a year and a half ago. If you guys don't know, look it up. It's called the Aspire Tour. They're the world's largest business tour. And they also have a great mastermind called Aspire for More.
Writing it down.
Yep, the Aspire Tour. When it comes to LA or when it comes to, just look it up. You got to go to it.
Hold on. Junior, look up Aspire Tour, please. Junior's on the other side.
Or you can even go to aspireformore.com, and it has a bunch of different things, but it's the number 4. Anyway, so investing in myself. So I joined the Aspire Mastermind a year and a half ago, and 5 months ago, they approached me at one of the in-person masterminds and asked me if I would teach for their company. And basically what I do, they created this whole private money brokering program. And so now I'm the director of education for private money for the Aspire Tour, a worldwide organization.
He's developing people. That's awesome.
And
man.
So now I teach about 80 to 100 people a month on a 2-day immersion. So this past weekend, when we came back, I spent all weekend teaching. And, so I go to different parts because they do a tour at every major city in the country. So like a month after the tour, then they come into my program or they sign up for that portion of the mastermind. And so now we're giving back in even bigger ways. It's actually like raising people and helping them come into this business. And it's all a God thing, man. Like I have countless testimonies over the course of the last 17 years or so of like what was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And now, other happy side of the story, I've been also remarried to an amazing woman for 13 years. Like she was every answer to every prayer I prayed about my previous marriage, and even way more, right? Because he gives us far exceeding above what we ever think or imagine in every way. So, and here we are, we just get to tell our testimony. And along that way, I made a promise that like, Lord, expand my territory so that I have more of an influence, so that I have a bigger platform so I can keep singing your praises. And every time that he opens a door, and I've been faithful in that, he's opened another one. Mm-hmm. It turned out that way with American Dream. It's turned out that way with Aspire now, where I'm literally speaking to thousands of people. And I told them, I was like, you guys know who I am. Thankfully, the owners of Aspire are also men of faith, but they had to be a little bit more muted. I was like, I don't mute. I don't have mute when it comes to the Lord, because I'm not going to stop sharing what he's done for me in my life. And I'm going to be faithful to him in that way, in that promise. And so hopefully, we can inspire some people, and of course, be about the Great Commission and save some souls in the process. And I've gotten to pray for people there during the 2-day immersions, and I know we're wrapping up, man, but it's just, you just got to keep showing up, and it's a lot of work, it's a lot of demand. You have to figure out, how do you still dedicate time to your family, how do you still lift them up in addition to providing, how do you still continue to show up to church and do your things and give back to the community, but God gives you the capacity, as long as if you're in his will, he will give you the capacity to do it.
His will. We talked about this yesterday in our men's group. We have one here. You're welcome to come. We have a men's group here every Tuesday at 8:00.
Yeah.
You don't live in the area though, right? You live over the grade?
Yeah. Well, no, I live in Camarillo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the bottom of the grade.
Yeah, bottom of the grade.
But if you ever want to, man, we meet every Tuesday. You're welcome to come. But yeah, we were just talking about his will, because sometimes we had this talk last night about what I try to control versus laying into him to give to him. And because I've done it in business and other things, maybe domestically in other areas, but having that realignment, for us to say, okay, Lord, I trusted you with this. I'm going to give you this, right? Or whether they're going to surrender it to him, but realizing it's his will, and then just going out and doing what you need to do every day, and not trying to force anything, or not trying to shortcut it. Because sometimes we want things in our own time, and you can say that took a time, effort, dedication, and you'll be rewarded for all that, with righteousness and, it's not like everything you do is everybody's trying to win. You're not shorting anybody. You're not trying to just make a beeline to the finish line.
Right.
That you're making sure that whether it's 30-day notice till 6 p.m., right? That you're there. You don't compromise. Even the deal that you put with the lady that will make money on the back end, right? It sounds like all your stories have something with everybody is going to benefit.
So there's two things I'll leave you with.
Two things. Normally we ask you to leave us with one. He's going to leave us with two.
Because one's for everybody, one's hopefully for you and everybody. But John Maxwell also taught me this, because he was asked a question like, how do you manage business integrity and personal integrity? There's no such thing as business integrity. You either have integrity or you don't. Right? So that's one thing. You had to be congruent with that, especially if I'm going to be speaking and I'm very public. The Lord early last year, he called me out again and said, okay, you're going to keep doing this. Then not only that, now I want you to change your entire personal brand. And that's where your Kingdom Lender brand came about. And just we
look up online, yourkingdomlender.com. Okay.
Everything.
Make sure we pop that in there, and Scotty will put some stuff on the bottom, and there'll be some graphics to go along.
Yeah, so that just takes you to me, everything about me,
into the kingdom. I like the way you put the name on that too.
Yeah, because that's what it's supposed to be. It's like this is your business, Lord. So your kingdom, and but the other thing that will be done. The other thing is the perception of control. You mentioned, what can I control, right? And as entrepreneurs, especially as men, and in pretty much any type A, it doesn't matter what your gender is, but you do want to have a certain level of control. And the problem is that the enemy uses that as a tool, because none of us can control anything. And so
self-control,
the best, but you also can lose control.
No, but I mean,
right?
you'd be out of control.
Yeah. So the best that we can hope for, and I think it's a better way to frame it, so the enemy doesn't have power over you. The best we can frame is I have a significant influence over things. I have significant influence over my mindset, over my decisions, over my reactions, over other people, over circumstances. I don't have control over anything, but I have influence. So that way, when the things that you think you can control don't go, you're more flexible, and you're more fluid, right? And then that keeps you more in peace. Well, you know that influence was subverted in some way. It's okay. The Lord was in control. I wasn't in control anyway, right? The Lord's in control. He just gives me influence over things.
You can influence the good or bad.
That's right.
Be honest,
Yeah. Either way, right? Like, same thing with the tongue, power of the tongue, life or death, man, good or bad. So
we keep going on that one.
You get to choose.
Yep. So last thing, give one more piece of advice. Like, again, what got you here, anybody that's listening, business-wise, entrepreneur, if they're sitting, again, waiting to jump in and doing what they love, they feel overwhelmed, go ahead and give us one more nugget of from your perspective.
Well, the only thing I can lean on is, and I know some of you might not be people of faith, but I can't not be who I am and what the Lord has done for me. But I just say lean into his will. Whatever it is, wherever you are, he's never late. He's always on time. He's not always on the time that he wants to be, but I can tell you, as I look back through this whole journey, and there's been a lot of pain. There's been a lot of struggle. It wasn't just a divorce. I mean, there was embezzlement. I lost everything twice. There was, all kinds of things that didn't work out, and everything else is trust and perseverance, right? You trust that the Lord loves you, that you're beautifully and wonderfully made, and he's got great plans for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. And then you show up and you do the work. You show up consistently, even if it's just one little thing that you do each day that drives you forward. We all get and we thrive off of little wins. It doesn't have to be a big win. As long as you do one thing that drives you forward every single day in that trust and that faith and in the showing up for yourself, for your family, and for your community and those who you're called to serve, the Lord will see you through. And we can't wait to hear about your testimonies and the great things that you're going to do for the community because of it.
Amen. Whew, that was like a prayer too.
That's
how we end it right there. All right, Barry. Tell them let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
To learn more about Real Guppy Outdoors, please visit www.communitykevin.com. Brought to you by AftCo Fishing Apparel and Tackle, designed to perform. Channel Islands Sport Fishing, offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats, and more. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. See what's out there. Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.